say the woods north of Miller's Crossing are safe, during the day at least. But after sunset, the air gets thick, and the trail itself seems to breathe. Locals call it the Red Lantern Trail. Nobody really hikes it anymore. I first heard about it from an old ranger named Ellis. He'd been with the Forestry Service for 30 years, stationed near the foothills. Quiet guy, never exaggerated. He told me there's a mile-long stretch of that trail that changes at night. Sometimes the markers glow faintly red. Sometimes the forest goes completely silent. He said it started after a storm in the late 80s, when a volunteer search team went missing looking for a lost child. They were carrying lanterns, red glass kind, the old kind used for signaling. They never came back. The only thing found was one lantern still burning, hanging from a branch. A few months ago, I decided to see it for myself, not because I believed in ghosts or anything like that. I just wanted to understand why so many stories pointed to the same trail. I left just before dusk with a flashlight, a thermos, and my recorder. The sun was sinking behind the ridge, and by the time I reached the first marker, the woods had started to swallow the light. There's something different about a forest at night. You notice your own breathing. Every twig snap sounds like a warning. Even the wind feels heavier, like it's moving through something unseen. I remember the air smelled of wet pine and smoke, but there were no campfires, no houses for miles. When I reached the wooden signpost that said Red Lantern Trail, 1 mile, the flashlight flickered. And then, I saw it. A dim red glow, maybe 100 feet ahead. It was swinging softly between the trees, left to right, back and forth. It looked just like a lantern. At first, I thought maybe another hiker had come down the path, but when I called out, the light froze mid-swing. Didn't flicker, didn't move, just hung there. I walked closer, one step at a time, crunching over the dead leaves. The glow brightened the bark around it, revealing the outline of a path that didn't exist before. And I swear, the forest opened up. The trail stretched ahead longer than I remembered, like the woods had rearranged themselves. As I drew near, I realized something strange. There was no flame inside the lantern. It was glowing on its own, like embers trapped in glass. The air around it shimmered faintly, like heat above asphalt. That's when I heard the first whisper. Faint, low, and broken, like someone speaking through water. Couldn't tell if it was a voice or just the wind, but it sounded close. Too close. The forest went quiet. No crickets, no wind. My breath echoed louder than it should have. And when I turned around, there were more of them. Red lanterns, hanging deeper in the trees. 5, maybe 6. Each one glowing with the same dull light. Each one swaying slightly, though there was no breeze. I told myself it was just a trick of my eyes, maybe old reflectors left by rangers. But then one of them, the nearest one, swung forward, just once, like something had brushed past it. My flashlight started to dim again. I shook it, tried to get it working, but the beam came out weak and narrow. That's when I noticed the ground. The soil wasn't right. It was soft, like freshly turned earth, and I could see faint impressions of boots leading deeper toward the lanterns. Every instinct told me to leave, but I kept walking. It's strange what curiosity can do to you. I just wanted one clear photo, one bit of proof that this wasn't my imagination. The further I went, the more wrong it felt. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of iron and moss. And then I saw it. An old ranger's hat, half buried under leaves. The patch was faded, but I could still read the name. Ellis. I picked it up and called his name into the dark, but the sound came back warped, echoing twice. Once from ahead of me, and once from behind. The red lanterns flickered, and then, slowly, I saw movement between them. Shapes. They weren't solid, just outlines of people made from mist and shadow. Each one carried a lantern, their faces pale and featureless. They didn't walk. They drifted. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a root. The figures turned toward me, one by one, their lanterns lifting as if in greeting. And then they began to circle. Not fast, just enough that the air began to hum. The whispers grew louder. I could hear fragments of words now. Help us. Stay with us. Light the way. The red glow painted everything around me. Trees, soil, my hands, all glowing faintly as if the forest itself was bleeding light. I ran. Didn't think, didn't look back. Branches tore at my sleeves. The flashlight hit the ground and went out. But even in the dark, I could still see the lanterns behind me, moving, When I finally burst out onto the main trail, the sound stopped. Just wind again. Normal. I turned around and the forest was pitch black. No red glow. No whispers. I found my truck, started it, and drove until sunrise. Didn't say a word to anyone. Didn't tell the station. But 2 days later, I went to check on Ranger Ellis. They told me he'd been missing for almost a year. His truck was still parked near Miller's Crossing. Keys in the ignition. Lantern missing. I thought maybe that was it, until last week. While reviewing trail footage from a new motion cam, one frame caught my eye. A faint red light hanging from a tree branch in the fog, and standing beneath it, someone holding a ranger's hat. The timestamp read 2:17 a.m., the same time I'd first seen it months before. They say the Red Lantern Trail doesn't show up on any new maps anymore, that it was closed after a landslide years back. But if you ever find yourself walking those woods at night, and you see a red glow through the trees, don't follow it. Because sometimes, the light isn't leading you out, it's calling you back. And most that do reappear are in pieces.